Hello, we are Craig and Janice, and welcome back to Cruising Off Duty. If you've been following the channel, you know we're about to embark on our summer sailing series, where we do a circumnavigation of Lake Ontario. Well, we circumnavigated the Canadian side of Lake Ontario. When we got all the way around to Niagara, we had to cut back across to Toronto for a second time, which we did not mind. And then we had to take the Canadian side back to Kingston because COVID has closed the US-Canadian border. We're hoping to do the same circumnavigation next year because we had a blast. This time, hopefully, it's open to the US and we can do the entire circle. Now, I know many of our viewers are from all over the world, so they may not know where Lake Ontario is, so let's throw it on the big map here. Here's North America. There's 5 Great Lakes. Lake Ontario is just one of them. These Great Lakes are so big, they're often called the inland seas. They actually have 21% of the world's fresh water in these 5 lakes, and 84% of North America's fresh water come from these 5 lakes. So they're absolutely huge. So when you say you're circumnavigating Lake Ontario, it's actually a pretty big lake. In fact, it's so big that it acts a little bit like an ocean. When there's any wind at all, you start to get some pretty gnarly waves, so it can be very uncomfortable to be sailing on this lake in high winds. So you try and avoid that. We had such a blast checking out all these cities and towns along the way. Of course, our favorite was Toronto. It was so nice, we wanted to see it twice. But all the cities were good, they all had their pros. It's just some you'd like to spend a day at and some you'd like to spend a week. Toronto would fall into we'd love to spend a week. Now, if you watched the last episode, you'll know we got a slow start to this 3-week passage because we had an unforeseen breakdown that almost caused our engine to seize. Check that out if you haven't seen that already. So this episode is actually the start of our actual voyage, where we're going to go through what's called the Bay of Quinte. Now, we had 2 choices here. We could have gone around the outside from Kingston through Lake Ontario towards Toronto, or we could have taken an interior passage called the Bay of Quinte and the Canal, which would have gotten us about a third of the way towards Toronto. We ended up choosing the interior passage both on the way towards Toronto and on the way back for 2 main reasons. Number 1, and most importantly, is in the Northern Hemisphere, the prevailing winds are from the west. So most of the trip towards Toronto, we'd be going headlong into the wind, into the waves. And as I've shown you before, any wind on Lake Ontario starts to build up some pretty confused, nasty waves that are really uncomfortable. And the first day of our passage was supposed to be quite windy. As you can see from the instruments here, we got 28 knots on the nose as we were heading west, which was really just more of a nuisance in the Bay of Quinte and would have been very uncomfortable out in the open Lake Ontario. So now I've given you the lay of the land and where we're going to be in this summer sailing series. So let's get this first episode going where we go westward through the Bay of Quinte.
Weigh anchor and hoist the sail.
If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that we are based out of Kingston, Ontario, Canada, and I gotta say it's one of the best sailing areas I can imagine, because if I want big water, I go south or west, right into Lake Ontario where you get the big waves, the big wind, you really get to stretch your legs. If you want more calm and beautiful, then you go east from Kingston into the Thousand Islands, and there's just so many places to explore in there. So we're really happy that we've moved from Ottawa, where we originally had our boat, to Kingston. Bit of a drive, but well worth it. Now we're heading west this time, and instead of going out the outer passage into Lake Ontario, we're going to do the more protected Bay of Quinte route west. And we are really glad we did, because we were on a bit of a time crunch, so we wanted to make some progress. And the day was kind of fluky. First it's raining, and then it got really windy right on the nose. It was, would have been very uncomfortable out in Lake Ontario. But our first leg was towards Picton. So that's where the story will begin, and let's see some of that footage now. Hello and welcome back to Cruising Off Duty.
Hey everybody.
We are on our way to Toronto for our big summer vacation trip.
At last.
And we had a plan to get up real early at 6 o'clock in the morning, leave by 6:30, do a 12-hour day of sailing / motor sailing, and get all the way to the entrance of the Canal. So if you know the area, we're in Kingston, we have to go west through the Bay of Quinte, north past Deseronto, past Belleville, past Trenton, and we're planning to get all the way to the Canal entrance, which is 60 nautical miles.
Yep.
So that would take us an average speed, we guessed 5 miles an hour. We'd get there in about 12 hours. The schedule is the enemy of sailors. That's what people often say. As soon as you make a schedule, something's going to screw up. And sure enough, this morning, got up at 6 o'clock, turned on the engine, was just tying the dinghy on the back, and I didn't hear that usual splash sound of my exhaust. It's always a good idea to look at that before you go anywhere. And sure enough, no water coming out. Now earlier I changed the oil, which is fresh oil for this big trip, and when I did, there was a little bit of oil spill when the filter came off. I went to wipe around the base where the seacock is, the on-off, the water turn on-off to cool the engine. I turned it into the off position and then wiped the oil, and then I went to turn it back into the on position, and I guess it broke. The plastic handle snapped.
On the inside.
Yeah, and the handle kept turning, but nothing was doing anything, and it was locked in the closed position. So even though our engine was on, no water was going through our engine. Luckily, it was only a few minutes.
Yeah, before we noticed.
And if you watched the last episode, it took us about 3 to 4 hours to get all the right parts at the various hardware stores and get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're finally on our way. We left at 12:15.
Approximately, yeah.
So we'll be doing maybe 8 hours today. So we're going to be 4 hours behind schedule. I shouldn't have used the word schedule. We probably screwed ourselves up again. But so far, we're having a leisurely lunch. And it's kind of a blustery, kind of rains every once in a while day. Right now we just have the Genoa. We're on a beam reach. But as we said at the beginning of the season, we wanted to talk about what it's like to own a sailboat. And things like this, breakages, will happen. And you have to be resourceful and be ready to fix it on your own. We did.
We did it.
Awesome. So we'll show you some footage, but today's not the most beautiful day, but we're going to go by a bunch of beautiful places on the Bay of Quinte, and we'll show it to you.
Yep.
So join us. We are motor sailing just to get by the stinky island over here. It is so bad, and Janice is already feeling not the greatest. She was putting away the tools for me, and we were rushing to get going and making lunch, and of course the boat was bouncing, and now she felt a little crabby, but she gets over it quick. But the smell isn't helping. It is a breezy day, especially at times. We're doing over 7 knots, 7.1 to 7.4, just with the Genoa. And because look at the whitecaps, it is blowing like 20 knots out here. We are flying along, just passing Deseronto, about to do the turn. Now we're going to be close hauled, hopefully not going dead into the wind, or we'll just have to motor. Okay. It got really windy, and now we turned around Deseronto, which is just back here. And now we had to turn at like a 120-degree turn. Now we're going dead into the wind, 22 knots. All the ropes after a fun day, 8.5 hours, 50 miles, not a bad passage. The last bit though was right into the wind, 22 to, I think we saw 28 nautical knots of wind, and it was pounding. Bashy is the word. Look at that sunset. We're just about to anchor in this bay up ahead here. It's right across from, kind of diagonally across from Belleville over there. Yay, yes. Hello everybody.
Hey.
The end of the first day of our trip to Toronto. Windy at times.
It was windy. It turned out successful though.
Yes.
We got here just as the sun was setting and made a pretty good time overall.
Beautiful sunsets. I'll throw one in there just so you know what we're talking about. We did almost 50 miles today in 8 hours and 40 minutes, which is pretty good. We were really flying.
At first.
When we were sailing on a beam and we went past that stinky island, we turned on the motor, so we motor sailed, and then we realized we could really make up some time. As you know,
for our late start.
Yeah, we were supposed to get up at 6 and leave by no later than 7 a.m. And then obviously the seacock broke. Thank God we figured that out before we left. And we ran around all over town getting parts.
It was a 5-hour delay.
Yeah, so we didn't leave till 12:15. So anyways, we made good time with the time we had, and we kind of motivated us to motor sail when we could. And then when we turned from Deseronto, we were right on the nose, 25 to 28 knots.
Yeah, way like double what they
Yeah,
said.
way above what it should have been. It should have been 10 to 15 knots. So we were banging and slamming through that, which really slowed us down. So anyways, overall we did pretty good. I'm going to put on screen recording now, and I'm going to show you the Navionics. So here's, just in case you don't know where we're from or where we went, we left here out of Kingston. Let me zoom out a bit here. We left out of Kingston, and we were just moving on a beam reach past, well, we're still in the outskirts of Kingston there. And then we got past Amherst Island, where there's those stinky bird islands. We call them bird poo
They
islands.
were lush trees not that many years ago, and then once the cormorants moved in, they just shat on them until they all
so
died.
much acid in their poop, it
Yeah.
would kill all the trees. So then this is Amherst Island to the south of us there, and we go past that. Originally, we were planning to stop in Kerr Bay if we'd left the Friday night, but we didn't get around to it because the wind was crazy and it would have been right on the nose. Hence why we're going to try and do a 12-hour trip. Then we got finally past Cressy Point here, which is actually part of this huge area, which is actually all Prince Edward County. Yeah.
There's a lot of wineries and cider
Over
houses
here,
and-
down here, is Wapoose, where we've been before. It's a really big wine country. So then we've been to Picton before. We passed Picton as we turned the bend here. So a lot of these towns that are along here are actually kind of off the river. You can't see them very well. You might see the odd factory or something, but you don't see the town. But Picton's a nice little town. If you go in there, you can anchor quite nicely. And there's a town you can walk around, get ice cream. And then we went up here to Deseronto. So this whole time we were sailing until we got to Deseronto. And then once we did this about 120-degree turn to go southwest, the wind was right on our nose. So this whole time along here,
the rest of the way.
we were motoring with no sails, bashing through this whole thing. And we ended up and went through this big wide area of Bay of Quinte where the waves really picked up because there's more space for them to build up. And this is where we are, in this little, what do they call it? Horse Point. Anyways, we're in this bay here. That's where we're anchored right now. And we didn't quite make it to Belleville. Belleville is there. That's Belleville. We were hoping to get there, but we, of course, ran out of light. And also, because of COVID and all that, a lot of the places when you go online and look at these marinas, they don't even take transients or visitors unless it's an emergency, because they don't want people they don't know to come in and walk around on their clubs and docks and stuff like that. So we kind of had to anchor. So we found that was literally I was scanning the whole shoreline while we had plenty of hours of motoring at the end there, trying to find somewhere where there was an anchor symbol, and I didn't find anywhere except for this one little bay. If I zoom in, there we go, anchor symbol. It's the only place, and it's because there's sand. A lot of areas around here have grass, which means weeds, and anchoring in weeds is hit and miss. You think your anchor's caught until all of a sudden it rips a bunch of weeds out and then you're gone.
That happened to us once.
And it did happen to us in Wapoose. We were anchored in thick weeds, and it seemed to be working. Windstorm came along. We sat on the boat to make sure we weren't moving. We weren't moving. We took the dinghy to shore with our bikes, and after we were gone, people said your boat just took off. And they saw it, and nice people got out in a big Zodiac type of boat and chased our boat out in Lake Ontario, got on it. Actually, we'd left the keys in the ignition, and they motored it back for us. So that was crazy. Nice people, but crazy story. That was 2 seasons ago. So we made an episode about it, so you can go back and check that out, Wapoose. So that's it. We've had a great first day. We got too much sun, a little bit.
Well, because it was cloudy all day until about 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And then it was pure sun, and we did not put on sunscreen.
Yeah, you just forget. And a lot of it could be windburn.
No, it'll be part that too.
Yeah. So anyways, if we look a little extra rosy, that's probably why. But a great day. So tomorrow's plan is, where are we going? We're going from here all the way to?
Coburg.
That's a big, long commute too. So we're going to get up early again at like 6 or...
And again,
try and be on the road by
Coburg,
7?
Called them a couple days ago. They are also not open to transient boaters, but they said that travelers like us, it's free to anchor in their little bay or tie up to their wall.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. We won't be able to use any facilities, but I'm happy to just be able to.
Well, we can still dinghy to
safely
shore.
pull
We just
over
can't
there.
go in their marina. Yeah, we could dinghy to shore. We did bring our dinghy. So
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to go to Coburg. That's the best spot to stop, and that's on Lake Ontario. So what we're going to do, a mosquito on my face. Yeah, some mosquitoes are coming. What we're going to do is leave here, go past Belleville, go past Trenton, then to the entrance. Actually, I can show you on here. We're going to go past Belleville, right there. We're going to pass Trenton, down, well, quite a ways, isn't it? There's Trenton. It's actually an Air Force base, Canadian Air Force base. And then this is the Murray Canal. Originally, when we were going to do our 12-hour day, we were going to tie to the entrance to the Murray Canal. So there's 2 swing bridges on here, and you actually throw $5 into a bucket they have on a pole to get through. They charge $4.90 to transit the canal. So we're going to do that because that is an awesome experience. Plus, it cuts off a lot of time going all the way around the peninsula. And then we'll get out into Presqu'île Bay. And then it's going to be dead calm tomorrow, dead calm. So we're probably going to be motoring almost all the way because we've got to get some time made up here. And then we come around this, and this is actually Lake Ontario. It gets really big there. So thank God it's not windy or it would be super wavy. And then we end up stopping over...
Yeah.
There we are, Coburg. So that's where we're stopping. And that's that little, inside this little bay, you see the little anchor symbol there. That's where we're going to anchor tomorrow. So that's the plan. The next day we'll go from Coburg all the way to Pickering, probably.
Yeah.
And then Pickering to Toronto the next day. So, and we'll be there for Canada Day.
Yep.
So come along with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the views we've had for day 1, and we're going to have day 2, day 3, day 4. So stay tuned.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, stay tuned to the next episode when we're going to go through the Murray Canal, which was a very unique experience, then out into Lake Ontario, the big blue water, on our way to our eventual goal, which is Toronto. Now, as you can tell, we seem to be in a bit of a rush, and that's because we're trying to get to Toronto in 3 days. So it was a bit of a time crunch, so don't worry. If you wanted to see more about each town along the way, is it good for anchoring? Is it good for provisioning? Are there bars and restaurants to go to? We will definitely do that once we get to Toronto. Everything kind of dials back. We're in more relaxed mode then, and we stop at every town that we think is worth stopping at along the coastline of Lake Ontario. And then on the way back, we'll stop at Trenton, Belleville, and Picton, those towns we kind of blew past on the way to Toronto. So hopefully you're looking forward to that. If so, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, show the channel some love by giving it a thumbs up. And until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising. Jake's first attempt at paddleboarding. I want somebody on a Sea-Doo to go by him now. Oh yeah, nothing makes me happier than watching Jake wipe out. Come on, Jake. Oh, here comes the waves. Here comes the waves. Here comes the waves. Stand up before the waves. He's dedicated. Gotta give him that.
I gotta get on all by himself.
I know. Jeez. Yeah, he picked it up fast. I was hoping he was gonna wipe out like 3 times trying to get up. Good job, Jake. See? I just love it.